Sports North is presented by State Farm. There's just one game left to go before the All-Star break. It's Game 4 between the Twins and the Orioles right here at Target Field. The Twins sent Kyle Gibson to the mound looking to continue the improvement he's shown in the last 4 games, while Baltimore counters with Ubaldo Jimenez, who's struggled in his recent outings against the Twins. The Twins' everyday All-Star Miguel Sano hit his 21st home run of the season last night, tying Justin Morneau for the most first-half home runs by a Twins player since 2009. Welcome to Target Field, everyone. I'm Audra Martin, joined now by Twins manager Paul Molitor. Paul, always great to see you. We're a few days away from the All-Star game. What has the success of your 3 All-Stars meant to this team?
Well, I think they've been huge contributors, obviously, to putting together what I would consider at least a decent first half. You know, I think as a manager, you always hope for more. But, you know, Irvin's provided the consistency and reliability of a veteran starter. Miguel continues to blossom into one of the game's young stars. And Brandon Kinsler, maybe the best story of them all. You know, a guy who was borderline out of the game and has reemerged as one of the better closers in the game. So excited for all of them. Hopefully we get to see them all in the game.
What's impressed you the most so far with this team?
Well, you hear this word a lot, but I think we have been resilient. We've had some periods where we haven't played particularly well and things start to look a little bit disheveled, and somehow we regroup and come back and compete. You know, it's just one of those first halves where we've seen a lot of positive, confidence has grown, and for the most part we've stayed away from those long droughts. Other than that Houston series, you know, it's been fairly consistent baseball.
With all that said, what are you looking for from your guys in the second half?
More of the same. You know, I think that we're capable of putting together a good run. I'm not talking about a winning streak per se, but a stretch where, you know, you can win 8 out of 10 or 13 out of 16 or something like that. I'm looking for some kind of run without getting too far ahead of myself. It's going to start with the ability for our starting rotation to continue to give us good innings. If we can do that, I like our chances of continuing to play well.
Paul, we really appreciate your time. Thanks so much, and good luck today.
Yeah, enjoy the break.
Thanks, you as well. Well, as Paul Molitor said, there's been a lot of positives so far in the season. Coming up next on Fox Sports North, Dick Bramer and Roy Smalley will take a look at more of the highlights so far from the first half.
trusted Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. By CenturyLink, connecting you to the power of the digital world. And by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine for the everyday competitor in all of us. Another good day for baseball at Target Field. The Twins hoping to finish off a 5-2 homestand and take a little momentum into the All-Star break. And we welcome you to Target Field. It's the last game of the unofficial first half of the season. Dick Bramer and Roy Smalley, and what a first half it's been. A much-needed, encouraging first half for fans in Twins territory.
And several contributors to why the Twins have done as well as they've done here in this first half. Starts with their road record. What a resilient team. We keep saying that. It's an example of how they play so well on the road that has kept them in this thing. If they play that well into the second half, they're going to be in it all the way to the end. The defense has been most improved. Joe Mauer playing Gold Glove defense. They're playing great all over the field. Sano has been terrific, and we know about the outfield defense led by Byron Buxton. All the guys on that outfield can really go and get that ball. It's been a big change. What other changes? Well, how about Santana and Barrios? The 1-2 punch on the starting staff has given the Twins the feeling that they can compete night in and night out and stay out of losing streaks. Santana's an all-star, and Barrios is emerging. Last year, the Twins blew a lot of saves. This year, Brandon Kinsler has been almost perfect. Just what the Twins, where they would be without Brandon Kinsler this year, we don't even want to think about. He also an all-star, and deservedly so. And how about this guy? It's his team now. He wants it, and he has delivered. Every time you think Miguel Sano might start slumping, not only does he come back, but he carries the team on his shoulders. One of the biggest reasons why the Twins are where they are, and he will be going to the All-Star game. Again, Dick, a lot of things contributing to the Twins' success.
You've listed a lot of reasons why this team can contend in the second half, but they still have a little business to conduct in the first half, hoping to finish off a really good homestand. Every season will turn out differently, each with its own tale to tell. For the Twins, chapters still need to be written in what could become a fairy tale season. Sano on third to second, and a triple play!
How about that?
In baseball, we don't remember games. We remember moments. And so far, this season has provided plenty. Right center field and deep. Rosario with his 3rd home run tonight. Irvin Santana with a brilliant one-hit shutout. A drive to deep center field. My goodness, I've never seen a ball hit where that landed. Buxton chasing it, leaping. Oh, Byron Buxton, did he catch it? Oh, what a catch. After today's game, we take a break to honor baseball's best. But then it's back to work, hoping for moments that become postseason memories. High drive, left center field. Going back is Bradley. It's gone. A walk-off home run for Joe Mauer. And at stake here today, a 5-2 homestand. It would be the first, it already is, the only winning homestand the Twins have had since the opening 3-game series with the Royals. And then the Twins will take a break and open up the unofficial second half against the white-hot Houston Astros. And Buck Showalter hoping that yesterday's game is a sign of things to come for his team, because the Royals have really struggled ever since the Twins swept the Orioles in Baltimore. The Menards batting order for this series finale: Seth Smith, followed by Manny Machado, Jonathan Scope, Adam Jones, Mark Trumbo, Trey Mancini, Hyun-Soo Kim, Caleb Joseph, and Ruben Tejada.
Kyle Gibson on the mound for the Twins. Very important game here for the Twins and for Kyle Gibson. I think very, very important for Kyle to pitch well today.
And he has been pitching better. And if the Twins are going to be a factor in the second half, they need consistent starting pitching. And that has not been the case in this first half. They need all 5 members of the rotation to contribute. Lately, Gibson has contributed 6 2/3 innings, a couple of runs allowed against the Angels. Decent start. The start before that in Boston. So the last 4 starts have been better than any 4 prior to that. 1-0. And low 2-0. So much of Gibson's success, I guess it's true for any pitcher, is throwing strike 1.
Really important for Kyle, and he's pitched much better of late, throwing 2 different fastballs. We've seen 2 sinkers so far. He's also got the 4-seamer. That's a 4-seamer, and right there, and that has been the key for Kyle lately. These last 4 games, I think he's starting to figure out that he can be a 2 fastball pitcher. And I think that's the way he should pitch.
And 4-pitch walk to start the game. Here's what we were talking about cumulatively and individually. The start's much better for Kyle Gibson.
Well, he's got a pretty good breaking ball and a pretty good changeup, but everything, as Bert Blyleven says, as Jack Morris says, as all of us hitters would say, everything keys off a fastball. And if you can't impress hitters that you're going to throw your fastballs for strikes and get them in a hurry looking for that fastball, then the other stuff doesn't do any good. The curveball and the changeup are not going to be effective. So that's what we'll be watching for today from Kyle Gibson.
Never a good idea to walk somebody ahead of Machado, the way he's swinging it, and he takes strike 1.
A little get me over breaking ball right there, and probably a good call, not only because Machado can be a first ball fastball hitter, but 4 straight fastballs were for ball 4 to the first hitter. Throw something else.
Tap foul, and it's 0-2. Ground ball double plays. That has been a weapon for him, the ability to get a ground ball double play. Machado's hit Gibson pretty well. 4 hits, 13 at bats, but behind in the count 0-2. Beaten into the ground again.
Dangerous pitch there. He's got him 0-2, and he tries to throw a changeup. The ball stayed high. Machado a little bit out in front of it, but that was a potential home run pitch right there. He's got to get that changeup down.
great sinker ballers of your era? Right-handed.
Well, I'm trying to think. You know, the best one was the submariner Dan Quisenberry. That ball went down a lot. But from a starting pitcher standpoint, I'm going to have to think about that. There weren't a lot of really great ones in the American League.
0-2. That's dribbled up the line, and that will kick foul. Sano picks it up. The reason I'm asking, if you had a guy with a really good sinker ball, isn't that always in the back of your mind when you're standing in the box, that this guy's going to have a pitch that darts down and in? Scott Erickson, of course, was a great sinker baller for the Twins, and it was really a weapon for him.
It absolutely is. Guy's got a good sinker. The ball's moving away from a left-hander or running hard into a right-hander. That's absolutely on your mind, and that's as a hitter. And that's why I think it's important for Kyle to understand that if he can continue to throw that four-seam fastball, the straight one, at 3 or 4 miles an hour faster, he can get in on hitters. I will tell you, from a hitter's standpoint, having to hit against 2 fastballs is very, very difficult.
0-2 to Machado. Gibson trying to pitch around a leadoff walk. Smith checked it first.
Generally speaking, unless a guy's got a Scott Erickson type of sinker ball pitchers have a hard time throwing it consistently for strikes in the low strike zone where they have to pitch. Inevitably, those sinkers will get up higher in the strike zone. That's where they really get hurt. That's a good pitch right there.
Breaking ball, and Machado lays off.
That's a good pitch. Go get it.
Just off the plate.
Yeah, it was really, really good try. 0-2.
That one got him. Couple inches closer to the plate, and it hit the corner, and Machado still doesn't believe it. 1 down.
Well, to your point, Dick, when you're thinking about that sinker running in on you as a right-hander, then the ball goes the other way. That's really, really good pitching. But you have to set the sinker and fastball in a hitter's mind for him to lay off that pitch like that.
First major league start for center fielder Zach Granite on our Northland Ford defense. He's flanked by Rosario and Kepler. Byron Buxton not in the lineup. Sano, Polanco, Dozier, Vargas. Jimenez, a late addition to the lineup. Jason Castro was in the first starting lineup, but he suffered some neck spasms, so he was scratched. Here's Jonathan Scope, and there's strike 1.
So far, Kyle Gibson's doing something I think is really, really good for a sinker ball pitcher. Everybody knows he's a sinker ball pitcher, and everybody knows that he throws a lot of that pitch. And he started the last 2 hitters off with something other than that. Curveball to Machado, change up to Scope.
Up the middle, and it'll bounce through for a base hit. Smith checks in at second base. First and second, 1 down. Ground ball, but hit right up the middle. And they'll bring up Adam Jones with 2 men aboard.
And that's what I was talking about there. It's just really, really hard to throw every sinker that you've got right around the knees. That ball up started off belt high, sunk down to about mid-thigh, and that's a hittable pitch for him.
Adam Jones, the batter. Did a telecast in March in Jupiter, Florida. Gibson made the start, and he pitched okay. That's not the point. The point was almost all of his outs were on fly ball outs, which is a dangerous thing to do in spring training because the ball really carries. Driven to deep left center field.
Really carry too.
Into the second deck above the bullpen, and the Orioles jump out in front 3-0. A 3-run home run by Adam Jones, his 14th of the year.
Now it's a curveball that settles right in the middle of the plate and right in the middle of the sweet spot on Adam Jones' bat. See, right in the middle of the zone. Just kind of hanging there and say, hit me as far as you want. And this guy can hit him a long ways.
Now, how different was that than the get me over curveball that he threw to Machado to get strike 1?
It wasn't a whole lot different. You know, I don't know if Adam Jones was watching the first 3 hitters up there and seeing all the breaking balls and went up looking for one, or if he just saw that ball really well. But
and now fastball low, ball 1.
The get me over to Scope had a little bit more break on it. That one just kind of hung in there.
1-0 to Mark Trumbo. Now 1-1. A pattern in this homestand, and this is the encouraging thing, I guess. The team that scored first almost always loses. That was the case yesterday. The Twins had a 1-0 lead and then didn't do anything after that. Now the Orioles jump out in front 3-0. 2-1. Chopper over the mound. Dozier was playing on the third base side of second. He crosses behind the second base bag, 2 away. Gibson in Baltimore back in May. Kind of a similar situation. Twins fell behind early, and the Twins were able to overcome and then some with his mound opponent, the same mound opponent he has today.
Well, we said yesterday, anticipating this game, it'll be interesting to see which pitcher shows up for each team. Jimenez is very inconsistent as well.
Now Granite runs it down in the gap. A leadoff walk, never a good idea, and ultimately the Orioles were able to score 3 times. Zach Granite getting his first putout in the big leagues. Has in the past, and he clubbed a 3-run home run to put the Orioles up 3-0. Center fielder Adam Jones. The Twins do have a winning homestand, but as Tim Laudner said this morning, there's a big difference between a 5-2 homestand and a 4-3 homestand. The Menards batting order with the Twins in a 3-0 hole. Brian Dozier, Robbie Grossman, Max Kepler, Miguel Sano, Kenny Vargas, Eddie Rosario, Jorge Polanco, Chris Jimenez, and Zach Granite. Facing Ubaldo Jimenez, who is no stranger to the Twins.
We've seen a lot of him, and they've seen him be really good and be really mediocre. But...
No, he's been worse than that.
Okay.
1 strike to Dozier.
Well, really mediocre is a euphemism for what he's been.
Dozier 9 for 25 against him, and he drives it foul, lifts it foul over the Twins dugout. 0-2. Got to him in Baltimore. It's kind of been the pattern early in his career, first with the Rockies and then his wonderful year he had with the Indians. He kind of stuck it to the Twins, but not lately. Dozier sends it down just beneath us. 0-2 to Brian Dozier.
As is the case with every pitcher. I mean, we talk about this so much of the time, but especially with Jimenez. He's got great stuff. He's always been expected to be on the cusp of real greatness because of that stuff, and he's just never been able to throw it consistently over the plate.
And Dozier claiming that he got a piece of it. And strike 3 is called. Here comes Paul Molitor, who all he can do is ask that home plate umpire, Lance Barrett, ask for some help. See whether Dozier ticks this ball. Boy, not visually, he didn't. Hitters usually know whether they made contact or not. Brian's contention was that he hit it off the end of the bat foul. So 1 down, and that'll bring up Robbie Grossman. Jimenez a free agent after this year, and that's, I think, just fine with the Orioles. He's not lived up to what they'd hoped for, signing into a 4-year deal. Strike 1, in and out of the rotation this year. Really good starts followed immediately by really bad starts. 1 strike to Grossman. And now a ball.
Well, you notice his delivery too. He hooks his hand behind his body, his pitching hand with the ball in it. And there are very few pitchers that have that kind of motion, that kind of delivery that can be consistent with their stuff. It's like a hitter having a big hitch, but you'll watch his throwing hand goes behind his body, kind of hooks around. Now he's got to get it back up on top in time with his lower body, and it's just very hard to do that consistently.
So popped up and out of play. Now, from a hitter standpoint, you can see the ball in the midway of his delivery. Do you look down there to try to get the grip, or it's just flash for an instant and it does you no good?
It's just flash for an instant, and different hitters will pick up the release point different ways. Ted Williams always used to say that he would look for the square up above the pitcher's shoulder and just focus on where the ball was going to eventually come into.
Dribbled. Joseph picks it up and got Grossman on a ball that traveled maybe 20 feet. 2 down. Northland 4 defense for the Orioles. Young Soo Kim is in left field. Adam Jones is in center, and Seth Smith in right. Machado very good at third. Tejada, Scope up the middle, Mancini at first, and Caleb Joseph behind the plate. 2 down. That'll bring up Max Kepler.
Back to where hitters pick up the ball. As I said, Ted Williams would focus right off the pitcher's ear and shoulder and look for it there. A lot of hitters would follow the arm all the way, so they'd look at it down there and then try to pick up the arm as it traveled through its arc. So different hitters did it different ways.
We had Rod Carew up here a few years ago, and he talked about how he looked at the release point, figuring out where it was in relation to the emblem on the cap.
Right. That was Ted Williams, and Ted Williams always said he didn't want to be watching for a long time through the motion. He'd look at a pitcher's feet or his knees or something, and then when he saw that the pitcher was about to deliver, he'd shift his attention up to that spot, that square that Rodney's talking about.
So you can understand Trevor Hildenberger's onto something when hitters are looking for a point of release on the baseball, and Hildenberger with 2 strikes will change it.
Right. That's what we were talking about the other day when Trevor was on the mound. He's sidearm. You get used to his release point, used to that square wherever you're looking, and then all of a sudden it's not there, it's somewhere else.
Kepler takes outside. He's had good success against Jimenez. Homered against him in Baltimore. Also hit a 2-run double against him.
Louis Tiant was always really tough to hit against because of the variety of release points he had.
Inside, he tried to go get strike 3 where he got strike 1.
For baseball fans that remember Louis Tiant, he would pause over the rubber, he'd turn away. Here's the last pitch, just trying to get that running fastball to come back over the inside corner. Didn't quite get there.
Driven to right, and Smith has it go by him. Kepler has second base. On his way to third. A 2-out triple for Max Kepler. Looks like Seth Smith actually got to a point where he could make the catch, but then the ball dropped below his glove.
I thought he was going to make this catch. Max hit it hard on the line, and Smith almost got there, but not quite. Once it got by him, third base was certain.
Sometimes you see outfielders do that, and it's almost like they're jumping off a diving board. Some people are comfortable going in feet first, and some people are more comfortable going in head first. But he, in essence, dove for the ball feet first, and that may have cost him a catch. It is a triple for Kepler, and now Miguel Sano inside, ball one. We've seen Kepler make that play, and he'll lunge for a ball head first.
I think the only time that you can that you should go in feet first like that is when you know you're going to catch it.
High fly, left center field, but in the ballpark for Kim. And Sano just missed getting the Twins on the board. It's 3-0. Partial season ticket packages are still available in the Delta Sky 360 Club and Catch. Become a Twins season ticket holder today. Become part of the Sweet Spot program. You can learn more at twinsbaseball.com or by calling 800-33-TWINS. Cloudy day, pleasant, as the Twins hope to head into the break with a win. Soo Kim will lead things off for the Orioles. The story of the day is a lot of early crooked numbers. Houston ahead of Toronto 6-0 early. Brewers ahead of the Yankees 4-0 early. Philadelphia ahead of San Diego 4-0 early. Washington 3-0 over Atlanta early. The best example, the Pirates scored 10 runs in the first inning and knocked out John Lester. Now the numbers 1 and 0 aren't so much crooked, but when you put them together, that's terrible if you're a starting pitcher, right?
That's ugly.
A strike, and it's 2-1. Kim, Joseph, and Tejada in the second. Three and one. Gibson issued a 4-pitch walk to start the ball game and ultimately paid the price. Jones hitting a 3-run home run. And a leadoff walk here in the second. Caleb Joseph coming to the plate. First we'll hear from Audra Martin.
Guys, it's time for our Car Soup scoop from the clubhouse. It was actually Byron Buxton who delivered the news to Zach Granite that he was getting the start today. And Zach said that was a big help, along with his at-bat yesterday, in removing some of the nerves heading into today's ball game. Jason Castro was originally in the lineup, but a late scratch due to feeling some neck spasms in the batting cage this morning. And Paul Molitor's home run derby advice to Miguel Sano was just simply enjoy it, try to avoid feeling any pressure. And he admitted he's not going to watch the home run derby. He said he'll start watching it when baseball can find a way to somehow make the darn thing shorter. Guys.
Yeah, somehow they turned that exhibition into about a 3-hour telecast. 1 strike to Joseph.
So now Kyle Gibson has faced 7 batters into his 8th hitter here, and he's thrown 1 first pitch strike with a fastball. He has a total of, I think, 5 first pitch strikes. 4 of them have been with breaking balls or changeups, and that was his first pitch strike with a fastball. We talk about establishing a fastball all the time. Kyle starts nibbling, not only on the corners, but nibbling with speed. And I really believe that he has got to be a 2 fastball pitcher, throw sinkers and the 94 to 95 that he can reach with the 4-seamer, and throw them a lot. Establish those fastballs in a hitter's mind before he goes to all this other stuff.
1 and 2 to Joseph. Well, right before Jones hit a breaking ball 470 feet or whatever it traveled, I was starting to tell the story about a spring training start. Gibson got all his outs on fly ball outs, and I asked him afterwards, I said, well, you're leaving your pitches up? He goes, no, I was trying to work on my 4-seam fastball, which is what spring training starts are for.
Well, when he started pitching well 4 starts ago, it was because he started throwing the ball hard.
Yeah.
He threw a 94, 95 straight one. He threw a 92-mile-an-hour sinker. There we go. I mean, throw that fastball. This is the same thing that I totally understood when Paul Molitor went out to the mound when kind of had a, as we look at the last pitch, off the plate at 94. But I totally understand when Paul went out and had that come to church meeting with Gibson about, he was nibbling around. Twins had a 5-run lead. He said, throw the ball hard, throw your fastball. And Gibson started pitching well ever since then. And now today, inexplicably to me, he came out nibbling, not only around the plate, not able to throw strikes to leadoff hitters, but you can nibble just with pitch selection too. By that I mean just what we told you, throwing changeups and curveballs first pitch. Throw that fastball, establish the fastball. The other stuff's not going to be any good until you make them believe in your fastball.
And Jimenez can't hang on. The plus pitch that he has is his fastball, right? I mean,
yes.
The breaking ball's a complementary pitch, but it's not a plus pitch.
The plus pitch we just saw, that ball run hard in on Joseph, and to supplement that with a 94, 95-mile-an-hour straight one. See, that pitch right there will be effective after you run that ball in.
Joseph took it for ball 2.
And again, sometimes you take a pitch because you just beat on it. Look, see his rear end come out. He's already worried about that sinker coming in on him. And he took that pitch not because he didn't know if it was a strike or ball. He took it because he couldn't hit it.
33rd pitch for Gibson coming. Took another one. That's 3 and 2. Came back to strike out Machado with a breaking ball, missing where he's missed the last 2, just off the plate. Then he threw a better one and got him looking. Full count. Another sinker beaten foul.
And that's at 95 miles an hour. So if you've got 95 with that kind of movement, why have we seen 2 of those this at bat? Throw that doggone thing.
Another 3-2 pitch. Kim with a conservative lead, and he was leaning toward second, but he got back. Gibson trying to even his season mark at 6-6. His ERA just now descending below 6.
Yeah, he was going 3-2. Buck Showalter, the Orioles manager, is turning him loose here, assuming that Caleb Joseph will make contact.
There he goes. Didn't get a good start. Yeah, that's another dribbler foul. All the foul balls are beaten right into the ground.
Right. Right. You'll give up a whole lot more doubles and home runs on hanging breaking balls than you will on hanging fastballs. You have to establish that fastball.
But 6 2-strike fouls in this at bat. Runner goes. The ball hit to the right field corner. Down for a hit. Kim rounding second to third. They're going to wave him around. Dozier will hold the ball. It's an RBI double after a great at bat for Caleb Joseph. And Gibson gives up his 4th run. He's only retired 3 batters.
Well, after throwing all those really great sinkers, he throws one that's up stomach high. And when they're up there, they don't sink. You know, that's the one. If you're going to throw it up there, then it's got to be the 95-mile-an-hour straight one. That sinker just, that is kind of a hanging sinker right there.
Ruben Tejada will bat. Still nobody out here in the second. Bunting foul. Gibson's committed the Cardinal sin twice already of walking the leadoff man, and it's cost him 2 runs already.
You know, walks are almost always costly, and walking the leadoff hitter, you're absolutely right. It's a Cardinal sin, and it's been, you know, when Kyle's not been good, one of the main reasons he's not good is because of those walks.
Good bunt. Gibson will tag the runner, and going to third is Joseph, 1 away. First time through the order, the Orioles have 4 runs, 2 walks, 3 hits, 4 outs recorded, one of them given to the Twins by the Orioles. And now Seth Smith, who drew a 4-pitch walk to start the game. Twins bring the infield in. A couple nights ago, the Twins fell behind 6-0, came back and won the ball game, and as exciting as it was, it's not something you want to have to do every night. Smith walked, was advanced to second on Scope's single, and then came in on Adam Jones' tape measure home run. Strike 1. One of those odd days in the middle of a baseball season because of the All-Star break. Starting pitchers have a little bit longer leash because they'll have some extra time between starts, but the reverse is also true. Everybody in the bullpen is available. I don't think Paul Molitor is going to be too keen on letting this thing, you know, auger further into the ground here with a full bullpen available.
That's absolutely right. I can't imagine that Paul's going to let this game get out of hand. I mean, it's on the verge of that already. You don't expect it. They came back from 6 down the other day, but you don't expect to do that an awful lot.
1-1. And a base hit to right. Now it's 5-0. Hugely disappointing start for Kyle Gibson. Still only 1 out. Now the Oriole hottest hitter, Manny Machado. Phone's ringing in the Twins bullpen. Machado actually struck out against Gibson in the first inning. Pitch up.
Yep, it was up. It got in on him a little bit, but you know, sinker ball pitcher just can't pitch up there.
Here's Machado.
Oh.
Stroked solidly to left. Gibson's retired 4 batters, and one of them voluntarily. First and second, 1 down. And Jonathan Scope. Here comes Neil Allen, but the Twins are just now firing up the bullpen.
Well, and that's the reason for the trip. There's not a lot that Neil's going to be able to tell him right here. Giving the bullpen time to get hot right here at this meeting.
Ryan Presley warming up with 1 out in the second inning. Scope singled, hard ground ball up the middle. And then on the next pitch, Jones made it 3-0. Jones, the lone Baltimore All-Star. Check swing. Ball one. .44 pitches for Gibson, 26 strikes. The strike percentage is fine, but so many foul balls. No swings and misses. And 5 hits on the board and 2 leadoff walks. Two and one. I asked about Gibson this morning. Paul Molitor said, yeah, the last few starts have been better, but you could tell from Paul's answer he's not completely bought into the idea that Kyle's turned his season around. And I think, you know, the first couple innings, I don't know that this isn't going to be a huge step backward for him. Chopped foul, and it's 2-2.
It's one of those games, and usually it's in Kyle's history, it's been one or the other. He's either pretty good or he just doesn't have any command of any pitch, and that's what we're seeing today. He's missing with fastballs when he's throwing the sinker over. Most of the time it's in the middle of the plate. High change up there he got away with again.
His shortest start this year, 2 2/3 innings. That was back on April 23rd, and I'm not so sure that he may break that personal worst here today.
He could really use a good sinker for a ground ball here, obviously. 6-4-3.
Right field, and it'll carry to Kepler, out number 2. Well hit ball for the second out. And that'll bring up Adam Jones, who was looking for a breaking ball apparently, because he got one and he hit it about a mile.
Well, he sure hit it like he was looking for it. It could be that he just that was a hanger that he just saw early out of the hand of Kyle Gibson, but he hit it a ton up there up into the second deck. I really like Adam Jones. He's a throwback kind of ball player. Really graceful center fielder, Gold Glove type defensive player, big home run type swing. Old time get back on your back foot and take your rips at it. Classy guy. I just think I really like this young man.
Beaten foul.
And he's smart too. I mean, you think he wasn't looking fastball right there after he hit the breaking ball for a home run. He absolutely knows our first pitch is not going to get that curveball again.
452 feet they measured it. 106 miles per hour is impressive in and of itself. When you figure the curve was probably coming in the low 80s, he generated plus 24 miles per hour when he made contact.
What happens on breaking balls too, we talked about a little bit yesterday when Trumbo hit that breaking ball off Bo Shears for a home run. But what happens on breaking balls, hitters are always talking about getting extension, get your arms fully extended. That's where the power comes from. When you just start a little bit on fastball speed and then adjust to the breaking ball, that slowness of the breaking ball gets your arms extended. If you square it up, it's going to go a long ways.
Chopper. Dozier fumbles it. Still got him. Good recovery by Dozier, who dropped the ball behind him and was able to find the ball with his glove and the bag with his foot to end the inning.
Terrific play. Peeks a little bit looking for the bag and clanged it off his glove a little bit, but watch this athlete move. He's able to find the base with his foot and get the ball in his glove. Nice recovery.
Orioles are taking a look at it, but they will take their 5-0 lead to the bottom of the inning.
LA Dodgers, this season's first 60-win team. They came last night against the Royals in walk-off fashion, and I mean that literally. Cody Bellinger drawing the bases-loaded walk in the bottom of the 10th. The Dodgers are just on a complete tear. They've won 25 of their last 29 games, guys.
Yeah, listening to MLB radio on the way in, and they felt about it the way that that was a bigger loss for Kansas City than a win was a win for the Dodgers, who lead by 6.5 games. Ball one, now strike one to Kenny Vargas. And the way you lose it, I mean, Herrera walking in the winning run in the 10th. Yikes. 1-2. Meanwhile, the Twins falling behind 5-0 here will send Vargas, Rosario, and Polanco up against a guy they've had success against. It's no fun looking up at a 5-run deficit, but again, the Twins came back from 6-0 the other night. 2-2. And it hit him and then caught Joseph. So that one maybe hurt the catcher more than the batter. Here's Eddie Rosario, and he's been swinging it awfully well going into the break.
Well, he's just absolutely on fire, seeing the ball so well, getting good pitches to hit, not swinging at bad balls, and when he gets the good pitches to hit, he's not missing them. When this young man starts getting confident at the plate again, when the streaks come to him and he starts feeling good about himself, these streaks can last a long time because he can hit.
Outside, ball one.
Well, this is the way you get back in a ball game. You have to take advantage of what a pitcher will give you. Just put a run up here or 2 runs. Just 5-run inning would be great, but just any kind of number here early in the ball game to get back into it. If he's going to hit the first hitter, take advantage of that.
It's in essence a leadoff walk.
Absolutely,
right?
it is, and a big mistake to hitting a guy with 2 strikes to lead off the inning. See if the Twins can continue their tendency of really grinding out good at bats.
3-0 to Rosario.
Which is what this is exactly what we're talking about. And even Eddie Rosario, who is known to swing at balls outside the strike zone, is seeing it well and making Jimenez come in there.
On the outside corner, 3-1. Polanco, then Jimenez, then Granite. Let's hope to see them all and then some in the second inning. Lifted down the left field line. Long run for Kim, and the 2 infielders and the ball boy showing great anticipation, great athleticism, and picking up his stool and running out of the way. And I wonder if
took a real good route in between all 3 of those players.
Don't know whether the ball boy the other night would have been able to do that, but that's a heck of a job by that young man. Fox Sports Supports is proud to team up with Homes for Our Troops, building mortgage-free, specially adapted homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Learn more about how Homes for Our Troops is rebuilding lives and visit foxsportssupports.com.
The ball boy the other night would have been yelling, "Plenty of room, plenty of room."
And Rosario chases a high fastball and strikes out. It was 3-0. And Rosario ends up going down on strikes. Here is Polanco.
Well, Eddie knows he swung at a bad ball there, and you know there were 2 things about that at bat. So much of the time when you strike out, you go back to another pitch during the time of bat that when you didn't hit it, that really contributed as much to the strikeout as the 2-strike pitch did. And Eddie got a 90-91 mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle, 3-1, and fouled that ball down the left field line. That was the one he wanted. I just got through saying he's not missing pitches that he should hit, and he missed that one.
Polanco squares, takes a strike, 1-1.
The problem with hitting in the big leagues, the thing about hitting in the big leagues is they're good pitchers. Big league pitchers are going to throw you some really nasty pitches, and some of them, many of them, with 2 strikes on you, and they're hard to hit. But you will get one pitch to hit during a time of a bat that, when you look back, you said that was the one I needed to hit. If you don't hit the ones you're supposed to hit, then the strikeouts will happen.
You weren't in a hurry today, were you? 2-1.
No, I wanted to be in a hurry, but I looked at the pitching matchup and thought, you know what, just calm down.
32 pitches, and he's thrown 18 strikes with now a 5-run lead.
Yeah, this is classic Jimenez here.
Yep.
And you know, the Twins really need to take advantage of this.
Off the plate, 3-1. If there's anybody, forget the Orioles staff, if there's anybody in the league that is capable of spitting up an early 5-0 lead.
We looked at Buck Showalter pacing in the dugout.
Another one chipped over by the tarp. Machado makes the catch. What a play by Manny Machado just as he was approaching the tarp. 2 away. A dangerous play, and Machado was able to make it without injury.
You know, there are athletic plays and then there are athletic plays, and sometimes the athleticism is just courage and glove presence. He got close to the tarp. He knew he was there, stayed concentration all the way, just able to have that great glove presence there to find the ball. And again, there's a 3-1 pitch to Polanco. That's the one you want to hit, and pop that one up as well.
Here's Jimenez, a late addition to the lineup with Jason Castro out with neck spasms, and Castro takes up ball 1. He's got a 2-out triple in the first inning from Max Kepler. Vargas hit by a pitch, and now a strike. One of the issues for Jimenez has been giving up the home run ball. He's now pitched 80 in a third innings, and he's given up 19 home runs, 1 every 4 innings roughly. Taking a low, and it's another 3-ball count.
And that's where the home runs come from. You know, I mean, I would, if I can be guaranteed that I can hit 3-1 every time I walk up there, I'm going to make a comeback.
Well, Jimenez doing his part here. Granite on deck, and now Granite will come up with 2 men aboard. Jimenez, the 8th place hitter, is walked. Vargas to second. And Granite, who made a pinch hitting appearance and made the most of it without getting a hit. 11 pitches it took to finally get him on a short fly ball to left. And a lot of family and friends here. Most of them came to the Diamond Awards this offseason when Granite won the Twins Minor League Player of the Year for his great year at AA and an even better year at AAA. He takes strike 1.
Zach took that pitch to see what Jimenez is throwing, and he sees 6 miles an hour slower than he saw yesterday from Givens. He said, "Oh man, this is about time here."
A breaking ball for strike 2. Granite, who had to battle to get that at bat to 11 pitches yesterday, is finding himself in the same situation here. 0-2. Foul back. There's the first 2-strike foul.
Well, Jimenez does not throw it too hard for Zach. I can guarantee you that, and I don't think that Zach's going to swing at a bad ball. So it really is just going to be whether or not if he can fool him on a breaking ball, because I don't think he can throw it too hard for him. But if he throws him a strike, I think he'll put it in play.
1-2. Paul Molitor complimented the opening at bat in his big league career. You're up there to get a hit, but you have to get some gratification about just simply having a good at bat, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. And first bat in the big leagues, guys throwing 97 or 98.
Checked his swing. 2-2.
Well, Zach's seen his release point now. He's seen the fastball and the breaking balls. So he's back in the count now.
Another 3-ball count. runners and need a little help anyway. Vargas at second, Jimenez at first will leave early. Full count to Zach Granite. Ball 4. And now Dozier will come up with the bases loaded. The Twins have only put one ball in play, and that was a foul ball caught by Machado.
Well, like I said, I just didn't think Zach. It's not part of Zach's game to swing at bad balls. And you know, when your family walks are a big deal for the second time up in the big leagues.
Especially when the at bat started 0-2.
You bet.
Well, here's Dozier with one swing of the bat. He can get the Twins right back in it, and it doesn't have to be a home run. Granite runs very well at first base. So if Dozier could hit a double here, the Twins might get 3 runs. Low, ball 1.
If you're a pitcher, don't be going ball 3 on everybody and then wanting the umpire to give you a close pitch. That's not going to happen.
Unbelievable. A little bit of a smirk by Jimenez. And he thought he had a strike at the knees. Looks like he did.
Yeah, it's a good pitch, but I will repeat. Don't be this wild and be looking for the umpire to help you out.
He hit Vargas with a 2-2 pitch. I think every other plate appearance has gone to 3 balls, hasn't it?
Yep.
And it's 3-0. And now a strike. Dozier 9 hits and 26 at bats against Jimenez. Now the Twins are on the board. Vargas trots in. He was hit by a pitch. There have been 3 walks that have followed. And here comes Grossman representing the tying run. Roger McDowell, the pitching coach, can't get to the mound fast enough. And everything we said about Gibson and both ends of the spectrum in terms of a starting pitcher. You can be given a little extra long leash if you're pitching well, but on the other hand, everybody else in the bullpen is available because of the 4 days off. So now the Orioles in the bottom of the second look like they're going to get the bullpen ready. Grossman, a little number, just made it onto the grass away from home plate. He was thrown out by Joseph. Ball 1. Grossman serving as the designated hitter, and they need him to designate one.
Well, he just needs to look for a fastball right in the middle of the zone, wherever it is his perfect pitch. Just look for that and be ready. Go. That wasn't it. 1-0 breaking ball. Good take there. Don't want any part of that. But again, he's not looking to walk here yet. He's looking to clear these bases. Look for a ball right in the middle of the strike zone. Low fastball for Robbie in the strike zone.
And there's a strike on the outside corner. Blyer getting loose in the second inning. Kepler is on deck.
The 6th 3-ball count of this inning. And I know the temptation here is to take this pitch, but because he's having so much trouble, but you've got to get a fastball that you can handle.
And it's a pitch up and in, hit the strike zone, full count. Everybody will leave their bases early here.
That's actually a good take by Robbie. That's not his pitch. 3-1.
3-2. Base hit, left field. Jimenez scores, Granite scores, and it's 5-3.
Big base hit by Robbie Grossman, and the at-bat was just absolute perfection in terms of the pitch that he ultimately got to hit. 3 straight balls, a 3-0 take, 3-1 take that wasn't the kind of pitch he likes, and then more in the area that Robbie likes the ball, down thigh high to belt high, goes right with it, lines it into left center for a 2-run single. Really, really good at bat.
Here's Kepler, who already has in 5 at-bats against Jimenez a home run, a triple, and a double. Driven to the corner, down for a hit. Dozier scores. Grossman to third. He'll be held, and Kepler has another extra base hit, and it is 5-4.
Well, it's clear that Ubaldo Jimenez has absolutely nothing with which to get Max Kepler out. He doesn't throw hard enough to throw it by him. Max sees that breaking ball so well from right-handed pitchers. You throw it down there, a low breaking ball to Max Kepler, and he's going to have a good swing at it, which is exactly what he did for his 20th double this season.
Sano in the first inning just missed hitting a 2-run home run. He hit it a mile in the air and about a half-mile to left field. The tying run is at third. The go-ahead run is at second. Check swing, ball 1. And Jimenez gesturing to home plate umpire Lance Barrett, saying, where was the pitch? Forget the check swing. Where was the pitch? Well in the strike zone.
That was right there.
And now fastball for a strike, 1-1.
Well, Jimenez's anger just got him 3 more miles an hour all of a sudden.
1-1 to Sano, the 9th man to bat here in the second inning. Up the middle and hits the pitcher. Bounds to Scope, who ends the inning with a fine play. Tejada, the shortstop, making the play. And Jimenez gives up 4 in the inning. Sports North is presented by Northland Ford. Visit buyfordnow.com and your local Northland Ford dealer today. By Grand Casino, the best stories start here. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. If you can somehow ignore what we've seen for the last hour, you got to believe it's a 1-0 game. Twins are trailing. Kyle Gibson needs to take advantage of the reprieve he's been given. It's 5-4, but he delivers ball 1 to Mark Trumbo. Bouncer to Dozier.
Oh, look out.
Now you said look out before the ball even got to him.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Let's go to Andermark.
Guys, I am in Suite 16, which is the place to be at Target Field today because everyone here is celebrating Audrey Plunkett's 90th birthday. Audrey, how's the day so far?
Yay! Happy birthday!
Now I have to tell you guys, I have met. What was that?
I want to have a lot more birthdays.
Oh, I think you're gonna have a lot more birthdays.
A lot of fun.
You guys, I have to tell you, I have met a lot of baseball fans. This lady and her best friend Pat over here are huge baseball fans. They met 70 years ago fighting over the sports section at the sorority house. Is that right?
That was she.
And they used to take the train over to Chicago to watch baseball games, right?
We did, because there weren't any major league games, so we went to Chicago.
We loved it. That was the beginning of everything.
So what do you think about the Twins so far this season? Not too bad, huh?
I think they're getting better and better.
Well, hopefully they'll be back in the postseason so we can celebrate plenty more birthdays and enjoy October.
I hope so. Happy birthday, Twins.
Well, happy birthday to you, Audrey.
Love
you. Guys, let's go back to you.
All right, happy birthday, young lady. 2-2 to Trey Mancini. And a bouncer foul. Gibson getting the first man. Trumbo on a ground ball to Dozier, who was shifted. And now Mancini, who lined out to Granite to end the first inning. The Orioles got 3 in the first, 2 in the second. Weak ground ball left side. Sano lets Polanco play it 2 down, and we're not only getting outs, we're getting ground ball outs. 2 away.
That young man's played some good shortstop this year. And, you know, I know there were a lot of questions in a lot of people's minds, including his managers, whether he was going to be able to handle it at shortstop, mainly because of the concern about arm strength. But he has played really, really solid defense.
9 errors through the first mathematical first half, and that's tolerable, certainly for a shortstop. The average is going downward. Maybe the All-Star break will help pick him up a little bit. 1 strike, and now a ball. Now you went to All-Star games, but you also got the All-Star break. Did it? Hitters talk about having fresh hands and all that. Did it accomplish that and some other things for you? Getting a physical break.
Yeah, I think so. Especially, I think for guys that are playing shortstop every day and in the middle of the infield, I think it's nice to have what was 3 days for us,
right.
2 days, and then we work out on the 3rd day. Now the players get all 4 days before they start again. I wouldn't have liked that. I wouldn't have
really?
wanted. No, I wouldn't. I would want to work out at least on the 4th day. I'd want to hit again and throw a little bit. I wouldn't want to take off Sunday and come back cold on Friday.
3 quick ground ball outs. It's 5-4 going to the bottom of the 3rd. You're watching Twins baseball presented by State Farm. Sports North is presented by Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in the Twin Cities. Crazy game so far. Twins gave up the first 5 runs. They got 4 back. A couple nights ago, they fell behind 6-0 early, came back to win the ball game. And now Kenny Vargas, who started the 4-run second by being hit by a pitch, will lead off the 3rd. Checked his swing, we think. Nope. Strike 1. Vargas, Rosario, and Polanco facing Jimenez, who's going to try to do what Gibson did in the 3rd, and that is recover from a horrible inning. 1-1. Twins didn't get a hit until Jimenez had already walked in a run. He hit a batter and walked 3 straight batters: Jimenez, Granite, and Dozier. And then Grossman drove in 2 with a single. Kepler drove in 1 with a double. And only Jimenez's ankle kept Sano from driving in a couple of runs with a smash up the middle. 1-2 to Vargas. Checked his swing, but he went this time, and Vargas is gone, 1 away. I'll bring up Rosario. And Rosario probably should have walked in that 2nd inning. He chased a high fastball on a 3-2 pitch. Wrists broke, as they say.
Well, this kind of check swing way out in front of a breaking ball, it happens when you're anxious to get out and pull a fastball. You're just not taking long enough time to see the ball come up there to you.
Rosario waits on an off-speed pitch and flips it foul over the screen. 1 strike.
Hitters don't want to get beat on fastballs. Nobody wants to get jammed. Nobody wants to have a fastball thrown by him, and it's a real tough thing to do, to convince yourself that you can stand in there and wait and actually see the ball.
That pitch looked 4 inches outside. Lance Barrett's strike zone appears to be all over the place.
Well, so have the pitchers been, so it's it's kind of even.
High fly, center field. Jones back, short of the track, 2 down. Before Polanco's at bat, let's get the big story from Audra Martin.
Guys, Adrian Beltre continues to climb up the major league ranks. Last night, he smashed his 452nd career home run. It ties him with Hall of Famer Carl Yastrzemski for 38th all-time. They also gave him 1,598 RBI, meaning he now passed George Brett for 32nd on the all-time list, guys.
The big story, Audra, is the Rangers were pulling out the Roy Smalley era uniforms last night. Isn't that what you wore in the mid to late 70s for the Rangers?
Yep, we had powder blue road unis. Yep.
1-0 to Polanco, and now 2-0.
Well, Adrian Beltre gets my vote, even though I don't have a vote for Hall of Fame. Terrific player.
Polanco taps out, and the Twins go down 1-2-3 in their 3rd inning. been a good week for the Twins. They're trying to cap it off with a win here, with Kyle Gibson struggling in the first couple innings. A much better third inning, and now the fourth. Caleb Joseph will lead things off. And another first pitch ball. 1-0 to Joseph. He got a pitch elevated, doubled into the right field corner, doubled in a run on a ground ball, and Sano scoops. And Gibson not only getting outs, but they're beating it right into the ground, which is what we see when Kyle is pitching well.
Well, that's exactly what he needs. First of all, he needs to not walk people, and that starts with getting strike one instead of going ball one to everybody all the time. And once he starts doing that and trusting that sinker, then better things are going to happen. But if you're a sinker ball pitcher, your job is to be able to throw strikes with the sinker low in the strike zone. That's your job, and that's what Kyle needs to get to.
Ruben Tejada laid down a sacrifice bunt in the 2-run second inning. Strike one. Orioles got 3 in the first, 2 in the second. The ball hit to center. Granite coming in, and he'll play it on a hop for a 1-out single. That'll get us to Seth Smith. Think you can beat the Twins mascot TC in a home run contest? Register at GoMN.com now through August 31st for your chance to win 4 tickets to a Saturday home game, a Twins jersey, and a spot in the pregame home run contest, courtesy of Pepsi, the official soft drink of the Minnesota Twins. Smith with a walk and a run scored, a 4-pitch walk to start the game, which, as it turned out, has kind of set the tone for what we've seen since. And then an RBI single in the second. And the dirt ball 1. This has been a notable day in baseball and Twins history regarding the All-Star game. It was on this date back in 2002. Torrey Hunter robbed Barry Bonds of a home run at Miller Park in Milwaukee.
That was such an incredibly great play, and the fact that it was on the All-Star game stage made it that much more special. It was a terrific catch in any game, but to do it against Barry Bonds in the All-Star game, it could not have been any better.
Then on this date in 1968, the National League beat the American League 1-0. This was back at a time when the National League always won the All-Star game. I frankly don't know why they bothered playing it, because you knew the National League was going to win. Ball hit out of Dozier's reach into right field. And now Smith has a base hit, first and second, 1 down. That game in Houston at the Astrodome notable because that was the game, the All-Star game, where Harmon Killebrew suffered a serious groin injury and missed the rest of the season. Jim Fragosi's throw across the diamond. Harmon made a stretch, his heel slipped, and that was pretty much the end of the year for Harmon. First and second, 1 down, and now Manny Machado. Machado with a strikeout, looking, and a single. Been getting a lot of ground balls. He'd like to get one hit at somebody here and get the Twins off the field quickly.
Well, he's trying. He's down in the strike zone a lot better this inning, but again, he's it's a very fine line for a sinker ball pitcher. As we look at Tyler Duffy getting loose in the bullpen, it's a fine line for a sinker ball pitcher to be able to throw the ball down where he needs to and still have it be a strike.
1-0 to Machado. Driven deep to center. Granite going back, and leaping and making the catch on the warning track. Oh, great catch by Zach Granite in center. Played it like he's played center field here all year long, making his first major league start.
Well, this is a terrific play. Machado puts a charge in one. Look at the route he takes to it. He got off a great jump, took a perfect route, tracking it all the way. And you're right, Dick. The fact that he knew how to get to the ball and where this fence was. He's never been on this warning track before. Terrific play. That's right, Kyle. Wow.
2 down. Runners on the corners. And Jonathan Scope. And if Gibson can get Scope here, Gibson may meet Granite halfway out in center field and carry him into the dugout. Check swing, strike one. We've said all year long the Twins outfield has been so good because they have essentially 3 center fielders in Rosario, Kepler, and Buxton. Well, they've got a 4th now. I don't know how long he's going to be here, but that was a great play in a key spot for Zach Granite. Swing and a miss, 0-2.
Good sequence of 2 pitches right there from Kyle Gibson here with a big run on the line out there at third base and 2 out. Through a really good sinker for strike 1, changeup for strike 2. Now he's going to see how can he pitch him to put him away here.
0-2 to Scope. Took a breaking ball. Scope's hit the ball hard twice already today against Gibson, singling sharply up the middle in the first and then lining out to Kepler in the second. '75th pitch of the afternoon for Kyle Gibson. All the dirt, 2-2. Scope showing some good discipline at the plate. In fact, a lot of these Baltimore hitters are on that breaking ball down and away. A lot of the right-handed batters are taking close pitches. Bouncer to short. Polanco to first. The Orioles come up empty thanks to Zach Granite's superb play in center field.
That is one terrific catch right there by the youngster, and his family loves it.
Big leagues, Zach Granite making a catch, looking like he's been here 4 years. And as you'd imagine, his teammates very impressed and also very appreciative of those skills out in center field. We're now joined by Joe and Marie Granite, Zach's parents, and a whole bunch of the family of 12 people here, all enjoying that moment. What was going through your mind when you saw that leave the bat?
I hope I don't have a heart attack so I can finish watching this whole thing. But it's unbelievable. He's unbelievable to watch. So,
what have these last 24 hours been like for you and your family?
It's been very exciting. It's been very nerve-wracking. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, a lot of hard work. So it's all cool. It's all good.
What do you want Twins fans to know about your son, the player and the person?
That he works. He doesn't take anything for granted. He works very hard at what he does, and as you can see, it's starting to show. So he's really starting to come into his own. It
certainly is starting to show. We'll let you enjoy his next at bat. We really appreciate it. And congrats to the whole family.
Here he comes. Here he comes. That's my boy. Thank you.
Zach Granite drew a walk and scored his first big league run in the second inning. Strike one. In each of his 2 prior plate appearances, he's fallen behind 0-2. He had an 11 pitch at bat yesterday in his debut. Now to center, and Jones towards the gap, tracks it down. Out number 2. And that'll bring up Brian Dozier. Dozier drew a bases loaded walk to drive in a run in the second. Starting the Twins comeback, they scored 3 more after that. And they're back in the game at 5-4. Outside, ball 1. Twins came back from 6-0 the other night without hitting a home run. They've gotten back into the game here today without hitting a home run. Yet Ubaldo Jimenez has given up 19 home runs now in 82 innings. 1-1 on the ground, picked up by Tejada, and Jimenez now has set down 7 men in a row.
Well, Adam Jones hit the first pitch he saw in the first inning for a 3-run bomb into the second deck. And then Caleb Joseph would double to the right field corner, scoring 2 more. The Orioles would jump out to a 5-0 lead, with Seth Smith getting the 5th run in there. But the Twins would come back after walks and a hit batter. Then 2 really good at bats, clutch hits by Robbie Grossman to get a couple, and Max Kepler bring the Twins right back. And we've got a 5-4 ball game.
And now both starters have settled in a little bit. Gibson wobbled his way through the 4th, got a great catch from his center fielder, and it'll be Jones, Trumbo, and Mancini in the Baltimore 5th. Ball 1. Gibson approaching the 80 pitch count. Orioles have another run into the second deck, and it is 6-4. Fell behind,
and then threw a high changeup. And the two balls that Adam Jones has hit now into the second deck have been hanging curveball and hanging changeup.
And they're scurrying about in the Twins bullpen again.
You see where this pitch is. It's a changeup that, I mean, middle of the plate in. Coming right into the inside part of the plate on 86 miles an hour. That's right in the wheelhouse of Adam Jones. And that was a laser.
When the Twins came back from 6-0 the other day, one of the keys was Trevor Hildenberger coming into the game and putting up some zeros. Now, Gibson put up a zero in the third and the fourth, but you can't keep giving back runs. And Gibson was fortunate that he didn't give up any runs in the fourth inning with a great catch in center by Granite. Now 2-0 to Mark Trumbo. Two and one. Almost threw Polanco's glove, a rocket to left field. I don't know how they'll rule it. Probably should have made the catch, but it looked like it may have knuckled or hooked its way into left field. And a base hit given to Trumbo. And that'll be the end of the day for Gibson. Join Fox Sports North at the Minnesota Wild Block Party on Thursday, July 13th from 6 to 9 p.m. in the Seven Corners parking lot across from the XL Energy Center. Meet Wild players and prospects, enjoy live music, food, trucks, and more. Visit foxsportsnorth.com/events for details. A hugely disappointing afternoon for Kyle Gibson as the Orioles have a 6-4 lead. Twins close the gap to within 4, but then Jones homered. Trumbo whistled a line drive into left field. When the Twins did come back from 6-0 the other night, they did so with a pitching change that kind of changed the rhythm, tempo, momentum of the game. And now here in the 5th inning, the Twins will hope for the same with Tyler Duffy coming in relief of Kyle Gibson.
Twins bullpen has been really, really good of late, and Tyler Duffy a part of that. They're looking at him to shut the door right here. Get out of this inning, maybe pitch the next one. Give the Twins a chance to get back and take the lead.
Ryan Presley was warming up in the 2nd inning, but then in the 4th it was Duffy, and he enters the game in the 5th with a runner at first and nobody out. Fouled at the plate. Mancini almost gets lost in the shuffle of great rookies that are in the league, headlined of course by Aaron Judge. You put his numbers in a normal year and he would be considered the odds-on favorite to be the rookie of the year. Bouncer left side. Polanco fields, throws on a couple of hops offline. It'll be an infield hit for Mancini. First and second, nobody out. Very little chance of getting an out anywhere on a bouncer hitting the right spot.
Kind of a C&I base hit. I really think that the only chance Polanco had would have been to get to the short hop and jump up in the air and throw to Brian Dozier at second base. And get Trumbo. Not a chance to get Mancini from way over there in the hole.
Kim, the batter, walked to lead off the second inning and scored. That gets away from Jimenez and both runners will move up. Duffy hooked one down and in to the left-handed batter. Jimenez couldn't field it. Should be a wild pitch. The Orioles are threatening to push out the lead again. Let's bring the infield in halfway. That's all they feel they need to with Trumbo at third. 1-0. Bouncer foul. Wayne Kirby just swipes at it. He had no interest in fielding that. If you were a coach, would your instincts take over? Would you want to get in front of those ground balls? No. So basically the same instincts you have up here in the booth.
Exactly. There's no upside.
Caught enough of them as a player.
I don't think I have to prove that anymore.
1-1. Tapper, Trumbo frozen, and Vargas has got to find Duffy. An awkward play, but they got him. Vargas cut in front of Dozier, and Duffy had to scramble over there, and Vargas keeping one eye on the runner and one eye on the ball.
That's a very nice play by both of those guys. Kenny Vargas especially. Hitter hits over the top of it. Vargas takes a look at third, and then has to throw back across his body to a moving target there. And he'll see, looks at the runner, comes back, and has to make a good throw because Duffy is just getting to the base at that time and finding it with his right foot. All in all, a very nice play.
One down, and now Caleb Joseph. And the infield will creep a couple steps closer now with one out. Missed with a breaking ball. Duffy averaging a strikeout per inning pitched. This would be a good spot for one.
Yeah, he could use one here. Get to 2 outs with the shortstop coming up, the ninth hitter coming up.
Pulled foul. Joseph strikes out about once every 3.5 at bats.
As we've been talking about, good pitch there in on Joseph. Duffy's strikeout pitch for the most part is that good curveball, or occasionally a sneaky fastball when the guys are worried about the curveball. But for him to get him out with a curveball, he's going to have to show him that fastball. He did it once. There it is. Oh man, that's a good pitch.
Tough one to take. Tough one not to call a strike.
Well, with that, that's a good pitch, and that he needs that pitch. He needs that called. I mean, not only because it's a strike, but I mean that's his perfect curveball trajectory.
Now looped into right center field. It'll score one, and they're going to send the second runner. Here comes Kepler's throw, and it's cut off by Vargas, a 2-run single, and now it's 8-4. Three runs for the Orioles in the fifth. One of the runs on the single charged to Gibson, one charged to Duffy. Pretty much the same pitch that Joseph took. He just hit it off the end of the bat in a good spot.
He just dunked it off the end of the bat. It was a good pitch. But that was really that whole inning was set up by Duffy hooking that fastball to the screen. I mean, you can't give them 180 feet on the bases there like that.
Into the ground foul off the bat of Tejada. Well, the deficit was 5, then it was 1, now it's 4 again. Tejada with a sacrifice bunt in the second, then he singled, got as far as third base in the fourth. 7 of the runs charged to Kyle Gibson. 3 in the first, 2 in the second. Miraculous escape in the fourth, and then 2 quick ones in the fifth. Foul back, 2 strikes. That's down the line for a hit. Joseph to second, on his way to third. Rosario getting it in, but he misses the first cutoff man, and the run will score. Rosario just flung it towards third base, and the ball landed between the cutoff men, and another run scores. It's a 4-run inning.
Well, that's not a good play. They setting up for a relay to Polanco. I thought he had a really good shot at getting the runner at the plate. That's a bad mistake by Rosario. And you know, the Twins outfield is so good, and they've been playing such good defense, and this right here, that makes no sense. You can't assume where the play is going to be made. You have to get the ball to the relay man and let the relay man figure it out.
Before this year, you would have had to say that, or been happy to say, I guess, that Rosario was a good throwing outfielder. He's really not thrown the ball well at all this year.
He hasn't had a good year throwing the ball, and there's one thing not to be on target with your throws when you're trying to throw somebody out a second or home or something on, but to not hit the cutoff man is just, you just can't do that. There's nothing in the world that will make a manager pull his hair out more than bad fundamental baseball. I mean, and hitting the cutoff man is almost at the top of the list.
Meanwhile, Duffy's faced 4 men, given up 3 hits, and a couple of runs already on his ledger. Runner at second, only 1 out. Oh, 0-2. Seth Smith hitting for the 4th time, and there's only 1 out in the 5th inning. Cleveland hosting the Tigers tonight. Kansas City will get started in a little while at Dodger Stadium. Jimenez with a block on that pitch in the dirt. Orioles with a dozen hits. Matters have been compounded with a couple of leadoff walks. Only 2 walks that Gibson gave up led off innings. They both came around to score. 1-2. Vargas flips to Gibson or to Duffy, and they got him. And Vargas was able to find the ball just in time to flip it to Duffy for out number 2. On the play, Tejada goes to third.
Good play by Vargas. The ball eats him up a little bit. Hits him in the heel of the glove, and then he had trouble finding the handle on it, but Duffy was there. He didn't panic. Found the ball and shoveled it to Duffy for the out.
And now Machado. Machado hit the drive toward the bullpen, caught by Granite right as he slammed into the fence. That got the Twins through the 4th without allowing any more runs, but now the Orioles have scored 4 times here in the 5th. One and 0. Strike. Well, Duffy's really struggled as of late. This is the 4th time in his last 5 innings, or 5 outings, I should say. And 5 innings, too, that he's given up runs. He's charged with 2 of them here. It'll be 8 runs allowed, assuming he completes this inning, in the last 5 innings. All of them earned. And over those 5 outings, so far only 2 strikeouts. So it's been a rough finish to the first half for Tyler Duffy. 1-2.
Tended to see a lot of that. The curveball just not quite as sharp as when he's really good. We see hitters really not seeing the curveball well at all. And he's had a hard time throwing it in spots where it freezes hitters.
Full count. Scope on deck. A lot of comparisons between this year's Twins team and the one 2 years ago. And of course, in that season, Duffy came up and final 2 months of the year might have been Twins' best starting pitcher. That gets away from Jimenez. Foul ball is called. Everybody knew it except Tejada, the runner at third.
Jimenez acted like he went to chase that ball like it was just a swing and a miss. I think that kind of fooled everybody. Watch Jimenez's reaction right here.
Oh my!
No,
he missed that by a foot.
Yeah, he just, and so did Jimenez almost. He just missed that pitch, and fortunate to call that a foul ball.
Granite drifting back with room. Well, the Orioles scored 3 more. They should have had 1 more. You're watching Twins baseball presented by State Farm. They scored 4 runs in the 5th inning. Twins down by 5 again, 9-4. Robbie Grossman takes strike 1 from Ubaldo Jimenez, who didn't handle the first 5-run lead very well. Grossman, Kepler, and Sano on the Twins' 5th. Slow breaking ball missing inside, 1-1.
Well, see if the Twins can string some good at bats together again here, starting with Robbie Grossman. If they make Jimenez throw the ball over the middle of the plate, he'll throw a bunch of pitches, and they should be able to get something going.
Swing and a miss, 1-2. had a couple of 1, 2, 3 innings since the Twins scored 4 times in the second. Up and in, 2-2. As poorly as he's pitched, at least in the second inning, he completes the 5th inning here. He would qualify for the win if the Orioles do in fact win the game.
Well, I would tell you that now that we're in the 5th inning with another 5-run lead for the Orioles, Buck Showalter's leash has gotten very, very short for Jimenez.
Particularly if he walks the leadoff.
Particularly if he walks the leadoff man.
Kepler on deck. Scalded to right. High off the wall. It'll be a hit because he hit it too hard. A leadoff single for Grossman. And as Kepler comes to the plate, we'll show you our Pepsi fans of the game. Enjoying a beautiful Sunday afternoon at the ballpark. You got a hot dog. Get to punch Dad.
Left hook.
Yeah. Here's Kepler, who already in just 2 games has 4 extra base hits against Jimenez. A home run, a triple, and 2 doubles. A triple and 1 of the doubles coming in this game. On the outside corner. No activity yet in the Baltimore dugout, or club bullpen, I should say.
When a hitter is hitting a pitcher the way Max Kepler is hitting Jimenez, it really is just about the hitter not messing things up. Not swinging at a ball he doesn't need to swing at. If he will just get really, really focused on the ball that he wants to hit in the middle of the plate and not swing any bad balls or something that's not just a perfect pitch, he'll hit him again. That was a little bit off where he likes the ball, and he didn't need to swing at that pitch.
And Mancini, the first baseman, had a hard time getting a handle on the ball, and that took away any chance they had of getting 2. Kepler reaches on a fielder's choice. 1 down. Here's Sano. Sano came close, probably putting the Twins in the lead. They had runners at 2nd and 3rd. They drawn to within 5-4, and he had to smash up the middle and deflected off a leg of Jimenez to the shortstop Tejada, who was able to get the final out of the inning. And then in his first at bat, he hit a ball a mile high out near the warning track, and it was caught by Kim for the last out of the first inning.
Nothing more frustrating for a hitter, than, especially with guys in scoring position, to hit a ball hard off the pitcher and make it out. That really, really is frustrating, because as soon as you hit the ball, you know it's a base hit up the middle, and then that guy gets in the way of it, and then the next thing you know, you're out, and it's just, oh man.
2 strikes to Sano.
Second frustrating thing is what Robbie Grossman just did. Hit a bullet off the wall that bounces right back to the outfielder and gets you a single instead of a double.
Up and in. At least with that, you got a hit.
Right.
Sano prides himself on being a run producer, and he had a couple of runs batted in waiting for him, but the ball hit the pitcher. 1-2. And now 2-2. Check to swing. 3-2. Vargas on deck. Full count to Miguel Sano. Down the line, foul. A lot of crooked numbers up on the board. Twins trying to get one in the bottom of the 5th. Off the end of the bat, Jones comes in. Out number 2. And that'll bring up Vargas. Vargas hit by a pitch to start the 4-run second, and then he went down swinging, leading off the third. Sano slams his bat down, 2 down, and Vargas will bat.
The big man's frustrated. He's not been really sharp. He's had a 10-game hitting streak coming in here, but there've been a lot of at bats that he's I think he feels like he's kind of given away.
This big man needs to start swinging it better. He's 0 for 1, and now inside 2-0. Had a big ball game here the other day and got the big double off the fence in left center field.
2-0. Look for the ball down in the middle of the strike zone where you're good. That's where he wants it. Kind of need a thigh high, middle of the plate. Tee off. Good take.
3-0. Rosario on deck. And a 4-pitch walk will put him aboard, and I'm guessing that'll lead to a call to the bullpen. First and second, 2 down, and now Rosario. Join us Saturday, August 5th for the Women's Baseball Experience. Twins clinicians and members of the coaching staff will be providing instruction at Target Field. Participants will get the full experience of what it's like being a Major League Baseball player. To learn more and register today, visit twinsbaseball.com/women's clinic. And predictably, Orioles start the bullpen again. Here's Rosario taking inside. Twins need a jolt. A 3-run home run would provide said jolt.
Yeah, and he's missed a couple of pitches that he has been really clobbering lately. So see if he. Oh man.
To the backstop, and now a single. Might score a couple of runs.
Well, there's 2 times in a row, once with Jimenez and now with Joseph, where the catcher's just kind of fanned on the ball. Here's
the wild pitch. That's got to be a pass ball.
Yeah.
It's been ruled a wild pitch, but upon review, that's going to be a pass ball, or at least should be. Joseph's got to catch that.
Yeah.
Well, a hit to the outfield might get the Twins a couple here. Should get an opportunity here on 2-0. See if Rosario swings away. He takes a strike.
That's a good take there. You don't want that pitch 2-0, even though it was a strike. He was looking fastball there.
Hit to center. Jones back, still with room on the edge of the track. Ends the inning. Twins threaten with a walk and a single, but leave 2 aboard. we move to the 6th inning, and of course the can't miss event of the summer, hitting South Beach, baseball's biggest stars, taking the field for the MLB All-Star Game Tuesday only on Fox. Miguel Sano will be there. Irvin Santana will be there. Brandon Kintzler will be there. Jonathan Schoop will lead off the 6th against Ryan Presley, who was warming up as early as the 2nd inning today because Kyle Gibson struggled throughout his outing. Fastball over the inside corner.
You were talking earlier, Dick, excuse me, you were talking earlier about Paul Molitor just not knowing for sure what to expect from Kyle Gibson and whether he's taking the next step. I think he's got to be thinking the same thing about Ryan Presley, just hoping as he looks at that stuff that Presley can figure it out, because he would be so valuable to a very, very good bullpen now that Kintzler and Taylor Rogers have kind of emerged. If one more guy, whether it's Tyler Duffy or especially this guy, could become dominant like he was for a while not long ago. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah. Well, he had a good year last year. Presley was, you know, there weren't many pitching bright spots, and wasn't a brilliant outing or season for Ryan Presley, but he took a step forward last year in 2016. But this has been a step backward for him personally. Weak ground ball. Polanco just barely safe. Schoop is ruled safe by Bill Welke. From up here, it looked like he was out. The Twins will take a look. Schoop hustled down the line, and Polanco on a ball hit so weakly. He's out, isn't he?
Looks out to me. Vargas made a really nice reception of this ball. He'll come off the base even a little bit to get to the ball, which shows there that he's out.
I think they will review it. I think they'll overturn it, and it'll be the first out of the inning. They show the replay up on the board here. Again, indications are that the correct call will be out. Presley last year, 75 1/3 innings in 72 games, 79 hits. Opponent batting average of 266. He didn't walk too many people, and he didn't give up many home runs. And the Twins felt, all right, let's pick it up a notch, and we'll get you with the and trust you with the 7th or 8th inning on a regular basis, and it didn't work out. Schoop wants so badly to go to the dugout. Now he finally will.
Well, he looked up on the big screen along with the fans and realized that he had no chance.
So 1 down, and Jones will bat. Presley last year was pitching in a kind of a recovery year. He had a pulled lat that cut short his season in 2015. Came back, and I think everyone was assuming that he would be able to take that step forward. It just hasn't happened yet. And I don't, you know, as a professional athlete, it's the old, you got to have confidence to perform well, yeah. But you can't have confidence until you start performing well. I don't know, you know, it's the chicken and the egg, right? One and
go together, absolutely. That's why the really, really good performers, that is a chicken or egg kind of situation, but the really good performers have the mental toughness, the ability to say, I have confidence. I don't care what happened, what's happening, what the trend has been. I know I'm good. I know this works. What I do plays up here.
And to that end, the last few outings for Presley have been encouraging. Presley a couple outings ago in the doubleheader at Kansas City got hit around a little bit, but he pitched a scoreless inning here 2 nights ago. Got a strikeout. 1 and 2. Jones asks for the appeal to the first base umpire, Bill Welke. Yeah. You know what? You know why they do that, though? Because home plate umpires, in my mind, too often make the call themselves.
That's exactly right. Adam was right there saying, ask for help, ask for help. Check with it. So before the umpire could call it, he wanted to make sure the umpire didn't call it.
2-2.
Umpire behind the plate.
And there's strike 3. Presley gets a couple of outs here, including the strikeout. Let's go to Andre Martin.
Well, guys, we're inside the Minnesota State Lottery winner circle with Marilyn from Aberdeen, South Dakota, celebrating her 75th birthday. Happy birthday, Marilyn. How's the day going so far?
It's going great.
There's a checklist behind you. I hear you had a lot of help with the art projects this morning.
I did. Grandkids and daughters-in-law, wonderful.
Well, we can check that one off. Now, it's not Bert, but it's Roy, which is just as good, right?
Just as good, absolutely.
Well, we're going to give you $100 worth of scratch-off tickets from the Minnesota State Lottery to help you celebrate, and hopefully big winning tickets. Well, good luck and happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Guys.
All right, Aberdeen, South Dakota. Most of you know where that's at. A little bit south of Ellendale, north of Warner. And a little bit east of Ipswich, South Dakota, if that helps. I mentioned Aberdeen the other day in relation to Terry Francona, who's out of the hospital. That's where he was born because his father Tito was involved with the Aberdeen Pheasants. Jim Palmer, who works in the booth next to us here doing the Baltimore telecast, he played for the Aberdeen Pheasants years ago. 0-2 to Mark Trumbo. 1-2.
This guy is so strong, hits the ball so hard. Finally kind of came into his own a couple of years ago. And true home run hitter.
That's a foul ball.
Took him a while. He came up with the Angels, and I used to watch him take batting practice, and he hit the ball as hard as anybody I've ever seen hit the ball. Just amazing strength. It took him a while to figure out what his approach was going to be in the big league. Struck out a lot, didn't make consistent contact early in his career. He went to Arizona, I think it was.
Yeah.
Really found himself.
It's amazing to me. He's leading the Orioles in at-bats. He's had 3 at-bats today. He's got 344 at-bats, and I'm surprised he's only hit 14 home runs.
Yeah, it's a bit of an off year for him. Home runs per at-bat, that's for sure.
2-2 from Presley to Trumbo.
But he can get hot. He can hit them in bunches for sure.
Strike 3,
right
and Jimenez didn't catch that one either. Good inning for Presley. 3 up, 3 down, 2 strikeouts. Farm here to help life go right with the home and auto protection you deserve. Pirates still have 4 innings worth of at bats trying to do something about the score here. And now they're into the Baltimore bullpen. Left-hander Richard Blyer comes in after 5 iffy innings by Ubaldo Jimenez.
Blyer has become the de facto long man for the Baltimore Orioles for Buck Showalter. He's done a pretty good job coming up out of AAA this year.
Jorge Polanco will lead things off. Then Chris Jimenez and Zach Granite. Polanco 0 for 2. The average down to 226. For the first 2.5 months of the year, Polanco was kind of a rock. The average didn't fluctuate much. 260, 270 right there, playing well in the field. But boy, the batting average has really taken a beating lately. Squaring to bunt. He takes up high, ball 1.
I think that the All-Star break is coming at a great time for Jorge Polanco and to some degree Brian Dozier. I think both those guys could use 4 days to get away from baseball, clear their heads, and come back a little bit different approach at the plate.
2-0. Jimenez only gave up 4 hits, but it was a mess. In position to win the ball game. Strike call, 2-1. Foul back, 2-2.
That's been the problem right there with Jorge, fouling off a lot of pitches that he was hitting and should hit early in the season, and now this past month or so he's got himself out on pitches that he shouldn't swing at a bit, even though they're strikes, just not good pitches to hit. And then when he gets those cookies like that one, he just fouls them back.
Poke foul.
Which is what happens when you go in a slump. That's a nature of hitting. You got to figure out a way to get yourself to not swing at tough pitches early in counts, and then when you get those balls in the middle of the plate, the balls you should hit, just you got to hit them.
2-2. Just foul. Hope they clear customs after the game today. Astros are beating up on the Blue Jays 19-0 at the Rogers Center. They can do that. We saw
it. Yeah, they sure can. They sure can.
And they'll have some of them anyway. They're going to, of course, have a well-representative number of players on the All-Star team, but have the All-Star break, and then they'll open up the second half against the Twins in Houston. Popped up. And Mancini has no play. Polanco having a battle here, trying to get aboard. The Twins need base runners, down by 5. Pirates scored 10 runs in the first against John Lester, knocked him out in the first inning with 10 earned runs.
Boy,
they're leading the Cubs 14-2.
Yeah, nothing's the same for the Cubs this year so far.
Foul back. Cubs will go into the break presumably below 500 unless they come up with 13 runs in the last 2 innings. At 43 and 45, the Brewers, leading the Yankees, may have a 5.5 game lead at the break. 2-2. Polanco down the line, but foul. Again, great anticipation by the ball boy. Good play. Twins had a celebrity ball boy down the left field line a few games ago. Dan Gladney didn't get any activity at all. None.
Well, you can be sure that with Danny down there as the ball boy, there wasn't going to be a whole lot of hustle after those foul balls.
Polanco having a good battle here. Don't know where it's all going to lead.
Well, he's fighting. I've always liked the way he goes up there at the plate. He's up there to hit. He's aggressive at balls in the strike zone. He just has not. He's been a little bit over aggressive on pitches, as I say, that he should let go, and that he hasn't hit those that he really, we've seen him hit so often for singles and doubles.
He's had 7 two-strike fouls here.
You know, the funny thing about that, we say this is a good at bat, is battling at bat and all that, and it's true. This is a good at bat, hitting as hard in the big leagues, and yet in any at bat like this that goes a long time, there's 2 or 3 or 4 pitches that you know you should have hit. So he's going, well, it wasn't that great of a bat. I should have hit that ball.
Another pop-up. Mancini looking at this one and unable to make the play. Sometimes you'll see this a lot with the count 3-2, but the count's been stuck at 2-2 for a long time. Blyer keeps throwing strikes. And Polanco keeps flipping them foul. Indians hosting the Tigers tonight. And already today they put Jason Kipnis on the disabled list with a hamstring strain. So they're going to be without their second baseman for a while.
It's going to be one of those kind of years for Kipnis. He's had a hard time physically. On the ground, waist high hop for Machado, and finally Polanco's put away, 1 down. And he's the subject of our Sanford Health injury report. He left yesterday with a right hamstring injury, put on the 10-day disabled list. Kind of a poor year, because you're right, he's had an assortment of injury issues, neck problems. It's been one thing after another. And the Indians, who will go into the break as the division leader, have not run away with things as of yet. A bouncer to short and an easy play for Tejada. 2 down. Bring up Zach Granite. With a phenomenal catch that kept the Twins in the game back in the 4th inning. At the plate, fell behind 0-2, drew a walk, scored a run, then lined out to Jones and center. When you hit 470, as Granite did in June at AAA, you can hit righties and lefties, and that's the scouting report on him. He will not be a platoon player. 1-1. Already we've seen from Zach the ability to only swing at strikes. He's not swinging a ball outside the strike zone yet, and I think partly that's his talent, and partly because of his approach at the plate. His swing is so simple, and I think he knows, either consciously and or subconsciously, he's just not in a hurry, because he can get the big end of the bat to the ball. He's comfortable that they're not going to throw it by him.
2-1. One hopper to Machado. And Blyer comes in and eventually retires Polanco, gets Jimenez and Granite quickly. neither starting pitcher particularly sharp today.
Didn't take very long. Adam Jones with upper deck shot. First pitch he saw in the first inning for a 3-run home run. The Twins would come right back with walks and hit batters and clutch hits by Robbie Grossman and Max Kepler. Came back to make it a 5-4 ball game, but in the 5th, the Orioles again would run the score back up to 9-4. This is where we sit today. A big inning in the 5th against Twins pitchers. That's where we sit.
Gibson started the inning. Duffy struggled to get through it, relieved by Presley, who had a 1-2-3 6th. And Presley's out there to start the 7th. Ball 1. Mancini, Kim, and Joseph will hit in the 7th. Up the line. Sano bare hands with the throw. Unbelievable. How did he make that play?
I started laughing when he got that big paw around that bouncing ball. I mean, you just don't see guys barehand those kinds of balls bouncing like that very often.
How can you get that much on a throw in that position?
So here the ball's bouncing. He kind of short hops it barehanded, and then
I mean, our camera couldn't keep up with the throw.
and then the cannon for the arm. Here's the barehand pickup, the fire across the diamond. Vargas.
They're going to claim that Vargas had his foot off the bag and didn't tag Mancini until he reached the base. The throw did sail up the line just a little bit. Vargas trying to make the catch and not make contact with the runner. So we'll see how they rule it here. It did appear Vargas's foot, well, we know it came off the bag. The question is when. I think he's going to be called safe. The only hope the Twins have is that the view in New York shows that Vargas tagged Mancini on the back of the leg before the foot came down on the bag.
Well, we're hoping for inconclusiveness. It was ruled out. They have to overturn it. And we're hoping for inconclusive.
And in this angle, does Vargas tag? I guess it's the right knee before the left foot comes down on the base. Unlike Scope last inning, Mancini staying on the bag after looking at the replay on the video board here. I think there's a chance he might get an infield hit. I'm guessing they overturned this. That's my guess.
Well, they must be looking at as many looks as we did because they're taking a while. Which means it's close to inconclusive.
Which means you're going to confirm the call. Call stands, right?
Well, as I said, we're hoping for inconclusive.
Headset's coming off. Out is the call. So it turns out it was a good play by Sano. One down in the 7th inning. And that'll bring up Hyun-Soo Kim. And if you're Mancini, you can admit to being a little perplexed there because he thought he got to the bag before the tag was made. And if the initial call had been safe, it wouldn't have been overturned that way either. Outside, ball 1. The call stands. And Kim, 0 for 2 with a walk, will stand in. And a strike. Every team in baseball now, well, most of them anyway, the teams in contention, maybe not the White Sox, maybe not the Tigers. They're both pegged at the bottom, 10 games below 500, tied for the worst record in the league. There's another crisp fastball for a strike. But everybody who's marginally in contention will be interesting to watch here for the balance of this month. And then at some point, you know, the general managers will say, this is your team. Gene Hackman's line from Hoosiers. This is who we have. Fans can talk about who they'd like to have, but this is your team. And that will come at the end of this month. Every team that's in contention has needs. Every team, as I say, has warts. Maybe everyone except Houston in the American League. Driven foul.
Well, we're going to see some tight races all the way around in all divisions for that reason that you just mentioned. A lot of teams with solid teams, but with warts. Few teams look like they're clearly the class of a division, Houston being one of them. But in terms of the other division, potential division winners and wild card participants, it's really going to be a wild card type race all the way down to the wire for sure. And it'll be interesting to see what teams with those warts feel like they can make a move that removes some of them, or else, or at least gives them a chance by bolstering other strengths, and other needs. It'll be interesting to see where the Twins find themselves. Derek Falvey and Thad Levine, what they're thinking about here in the next 2 weeks.
The fan base here in Minnesota and in Kansas City and just about everywhere else is going, yeah, well, let's go get Garrett Cole. You know, and then, well, the asking price is Miguel Sano. Would you make that trade? Bouncer to Sano. He makes the play. And on to Vargas for out number 2. Teams who are deemed to be sellers will contact the Twins and everybody else and say, "What? How about that Buxton guy? You know, what would you give? Would you give Buxton to get player X?" And the general manager's job is to sift through all of that and say, well, how do we measure our short-term needs against our long-term goals?
That's exactly right. That's the decision.
2 down. Here's Joseph. Squibbed off the end of the bat. And Vargas makes the play. Another good inning for Presley. 6 up and 6 down. Twins have some work to do. Bottom of the 7th coming up. Twins down by 5. For the last time before the All-Star break, we'll bring you God Bless America.
Please rise and welcome 2017 Twins audition winner and staff member at Central Middle School in Eden Prairie, Rich Larson. He's going to lead us in the singing of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
back again here, down by 5 runs, ready to hit in the bottom of the 7th inning. And Joey Rickards in the game for Kim in left field. And the Twins are trying to get something started here. They got the top of the order up. Dozier, Grossman, and Kepler in the 7th. Baltimore bullpen is pretty good. See if Dozier can get aboard here. Maybe the Twins can turn back the lead a little bit in the 7th.
And your comment a while back about the starters and the bullpen having 4 days coming up. 4 days of rest plays right now too, because in the bullpen, as we see Trevor Hildenberger getting loose in the Orioles bullpen, Givens has pitched a lot and O'Day has pitched a lot, but it's not going to matter. They've got a chance to win this game. If they need those guys, they'll be in there with 4 to go.
Hopper to third, easy play from Machado.
4 days of rest, I should say.
And Dozier 0 for 3 with a walk. We'll bring up Grossman, who's got a couple of solid singles, including a 2-run single in the 2nd inning. And we were talking about Polanco and how the last few weeks have been tough on him offensively. You know, they haven't been the best 3 weeks or whatever for Robbie Grossman either, but he's always been able to contribute through walks. A ball to short. Tejada throws and a couple of quick outs here in the 7th. Grossman matches essentially walks to strikeouts, and Polanco doesn't do that. So when he's not getting base hits, as he isn't right now, it's kind of a black mark on the lineup. 2 down, and now Kepler. Kepler with a triple and a double in the first couple innings. Strike 1. Blyer doing a nice job just throwing it over. He's got 5 ground ball outs from 5 batters. Oh, 1-2.
Yeah, it's nice to see a guy coming in throwing strikes, isn't it?
With a 5-run lead, what a concept.
It is a concept.
Just off the corner. Blyer thought he had strike 3. I think Joseph.
I guess it was off the corner.
Box Tracks presented by Carrier. At times, Lance Barrett is at a strike zone the shape of the state of Massachusetts. Right back to the pitcher. And another 1-2-3 inning. Blyer talks it over briefly with the home plate umpire, and we head to the 8th.
Buddy, I'm Jeff Grayson with your Mall of America Studio Sports Update. It's time for another All-Star Game flashback. We go back 15 years to Miller Park, 2002. Barry Bonds sends one deep. It's going to be a home run until the Twins, Torrey Hunter, robs him of a tater. And then Bonds lifted him up.
Of course, the story that Torrey has told many times, including on our air, he didn't know that Ichiro, who was the right fielder on that play, knew any English. And turns out Ichiro did know some English, just not words that Torrey could use on the air because of the incredible nature of the catch. Trevor Hildenberger coming into the game for the 5th time. He's been really, really good and a very pleasant surprise for the Twins. Not so much in the minor leagues, but up here.
Well, he's been very good, as Dick says, but very interestingly good to me. He has a real different delivery, and I have yet to see in my memory. I don't remember too many sidearmers that have the kind of changeup, the effective changeup that he has. I really like his stuff. He's got a fastball that'll sink, a fastball that rides up a little bit, a la Darren O'Day. He's got a sweeping breaking ball, and then a really good, maybe his best pitch, really good changeup.
And he puts one there on the outside corner for a strike.
And he's been throwing strikes.
7 1/3 innings, 5 hits, all singles, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts. Fouled back 1 and 2. We saw him do it in his last outing with 2 outs and 2 strikes on the batter. He raised his arm up, threw from a more low 3/4 position, and got a called 3rd strike. Don't know if he'll do it here for the first out of the inning. And a base hit to right on a 1-2 pitch.
Ball got in on him, but down toward the label, maybe even a little bit below, but he just doinked it into right field. Not hit hard, but it looks like a line drive into Marlins box score.
One down. Kenny Vargas, excuse me. Seth Smith, the batter. Anthony, strike 1. How'd you fare against Quisenberry? Quisenberry was more though of a submariner.
He was really a submariner. Yeah, I didn't hit Quiz, really well, but I did beat him a ball game, walk-off base hit in the Metrodome. But nobody. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. Somebody hitting well, but not very many people hit Quiz well. He was one of the premier relievers, premier closers for quite a while.
1-1 to Seth Smith. Ball inside, 2-1. Mentioned it when Hildenberger came in the game the other day. There's been a lot of commotion around the Twins bullpen, but the Twins have left him alone and left him up here, which might be a telling in and of itself.
Yeah, a lot of guys up and down, and a lot of conversation about the bullpen, but he seems to be a bit of a constant.
It's a base hit. Rosario will fire it in towards second base. Now Hildenberger's got a couple of base runners to deal with. First and third, nobody out. And the Orioles use a pinch runner here with nobody out. Machado coming to the plate. Smith out of the ball game. Gentry, the pinch runner. And Hildenberger getting hit hard here in the 8th inning. 3 sharp singles. And Tejada scoring, and Hildenberger has just given up his first big league run. 10-4. And Jonathan Skopel back.
Well, he's throwing about 85 or 86 right in the middle of the plate. Here's 87. Not a whole lot of movement on the fastball today. Sometimes that happens with a pitcher who's a guy who's primarily sinker baller, and sometimes the ball just doesn't sink. And if you're throwing it right in the middle of the plate, good hitters like these Orioles are going to knock it around a little bit.
Off the plate, ball 1. Another score of interest. Tampa Bay beat Boston, and unless the Twins come back and win this game, Tampa Bay would have a higher winning percentage than the Twins and would have the 5th best record in the American League. Twins are hoping that going into the break they'd at least have one of the top 5 records, and you can just say, hey, if the season ended today, we'd be in the playoff position. That might not be the case. Phil Hughes getting loose with Hildenberger giving up some base hits here in the 8th inning. Dodgers behind Clayton Kershaw are leading the Royals 1-0 in the 2nd. Dodgers have already won 60 ball games. Best record in the major leagues.
They are really, really hot, and with good reason. That's a good ball club they've assembled over there.
1-2. Two and two.
There's a changeup from Hildenberger, and like I said, you don't see too many good changeups from a sidearmer like that, and he throws it so slowly. It's 73 miles an hour, 74. That's an awful lot different than hitters are used to seeing. You just don't see changeups that slow.
And fouled over the Twins dugout, out of play.
You don't have to be a real hard thrower to be successful in the big leagues. If you can change speeds effectively and throw strikes, come inside on hitters, move the ball, move your fastball around, you can get by with 88, 89, 90. Generally speaking, your changeup is 8 miles an hour slower or thereabouts. Hildenberger's 14 or 15 miles an hour slower.
Toward the hole. 1 and only 1. Hey, the Twins just signed a guy to a minor league deal, Bartolo Colon. He's been essentially a one-pitch pitcher for the last 5 years. He just throws his fastball with impeccable control. Target Field has become the top choice for families throughout Twins territory, celebrating all kinds of special occasions. You can schedule your special event in a fully catered Target Field suite available for groups of 16 to 150 plus. Learn more at twinsbaseball.com/groups. Schedule your suite at Target Field. 1 down, runners on the corners, and Adam Jones. Already 2 home runs for Jones. Fly ball, deep right center field. Kepler with the catch, and the fly ball deep enough to score the runner from third. And Gentry comes in with the 2nd run of the inning, 2 down. Jones with 5 runs batted in, and it's 11-4. Here's Trumbo, 1 for 4.
Well, these are the 2 guys for the Orioles, I think, Adam Jones and Mark Trumbo, that are going to have to get really, really hot in the 2nd half for them to climb back anywhere into contention. Of course, the main thing is they're going to have to pitch better. They just haven't pitched well at all. But Trumbo, not the year he had last year. Home runs down a little bit. And Adam Jones not hitting up near his normal 300. But as we're seeing from Machado now getting hot, Adam Jones starting to get hot here against Twins pitching. If those guys all get hot in the second half, the Orioles have, and then they get their big first baseman back in the lineup. That's a formidable lineup.
1-1. Popped up. And Jimenez reacts and runs out towards the mound to catch the pop up for the third out. You're watching Twins baseball presented by State Farm.
For Baltimore lead here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Don't forget, after the game is Twins Live presented by CenturyLink. We'll take a look at all the offense from Baltimore, but of course Adam Jones leading the way with a pair of home runs. We'll take a look at his production at the plate. We'll also revisit that spectacular catch from Zach Granite in his first major league start in center field here with the Twins. And as always, we'll hear from Paul Molitor. And don't forget to then visit our Fox Sports North Facebook page for Final Pitch presented by Prism Research. You'll get a recap of today's game, and we'll look ahead to the first series back after the All-Star break. Guys?
All right, thank you, Audra. Twins will have a break until Thursday night. They'll fly to Houston. Of course, players who are elsewhere will make their own arrangements to get to Houston for Friday's game. Miguel Sano 0 for 3. Swing and a miss, and it's 0-2. Gentry taking over in right field for Smith. Swinging a foul. Time for today's Cold Hard Facts, brought to you by Clean, Crisp Coors Light. Sano with 62 runs batted in. Correa had a lot of fun today. The Astros scored 19. He drove in a bunch to take over third place in the American League.
Boy, what a good young player he is.
On the ground and off the glove of Tejada. Sano will reach on an error. Before the first swing, make your picks for the T-Mobile Home Run Derby Challenge. With a little luck, you and 3 friends may be going to the 2017 World Series thanks to T-Mobile. Make your picks at MLB.com/bracket challenge. Twins get a gift base runner here. See if they can do something with it. Vargas has been hit by a pitch, struck out, and walked. Now hitting as a right-handed batter. 1 strike. off the glove of Mancini. It's a fair ball, and Sano will go to third. Vargas digging for second. And a rocket with Mancini trying to make a diving catch. And it hit his glove in fair territory and rolled foul. It'll be a double for Vargas.
Well, he gets a little fastball in the outside corner that he just skulls down the line. Mancini couldn't react quickly enough. It was hit so hard. You can see it right here. That ball is just almost by him before he can even move after it. So Kenny Vargas with a double, second and third, nobody out. See if the Twins can make a little noise here.
Rosario 0 for 3, a strikeout and 2 flies to center. Strike one.
Eddie pounding on his front shoulders, saying to himself, keep that in, keep that in, and whacked himself in the head to drive home the point.
Hit hard to right, but right at Gentry. And one hop throw, so no tag one away.
Yeah, and that's a base running mistake too. It cost his teammate an RBI and his team a run. By, you know, it's really amazing. It happens all the time. It starts when you're playing little league baseball and all the way up to now we see it in the big leagues. When you're running on third base and the ball's hit hard, your immediate reaction is to break forward toward the plate. And once you do that, you're toast. You can't get back and tag up in time. And you really, really have to tell yourself all the time, ball hit in the air, tag up, tag up, tag up. It doesn't matter what you think is going to happen. If it's hit in the air, you have to. Your first move's got to be back to the bag.
Almost cost the Twins game 163 with the Tigers. Alexi Casilla did the same thing. Now bouncer to short. And Polanco will get credit for a run batted in on a ground ball to short. The Twins have one in the 8th, but now they're 2 down.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Minnesota Twins, LLC.
Blyer will be removed here, having given up an unearned run in the 8th. And we'll go one more man into the Baltimore bullpen. Castro will pitch for the Orioles. Out of outs here with one out in the 8th. They got one back. Now Castro will come in to pitch to Chris Jimenez.
This young man looks like he has a real good arm. We saw him earlier in the series. A little sidearm action a little bit. Throws pretty hard. He's got a sweeping, breaking ball. Tough on right-handers, it looks like.
Jimenez walked and scored in the 2nd inning. If you just joined us, I'll Gibson had a very rough start, gave up 5 runs in the first 2 innings, but then the Twins came back with 4 runs in the second. Got to within 1, but then the Orioles scored 4 runs again in the 5th. And now it's 11-5. Swing and a miss. And if you just joined us, Jason Castro was in the original starting lineup, but was scratched about an hour before game time with neck spasms. Check swing, 1-1. Zach Granite on deck. He'll have at least 1 more plate appearance in this game. Twins hope it's in the 8th inning.
Ouch.
Oh.
I said Castro really appears to be tough on right-hand hitters, and that's one of the reasons why. 96, 97 from the side with movement. So starts on the inside corner, just keeps bearing in on him. Listen to this. Oh, man. That almost hit him in his right thumb. Now to go with that pitch right there, you see this. You thought I was kidding when I said almost hit him in the right thumb. Now, if he throws the breaking ball here, yeah, it looks like it. No, fastball. He's got a big sweeping breaking ball, too.
Fly ball. And out of play.
We talked about switch hitting yesterday, and I look at guys like Castro throwing from the side at 97 with a sweeping breaking ball and say, man, these are the guys, this is the reason why I went over, switched over the other side of the plate. It's like a lockup.
Twins get 1. They'll need a lot more in the ninth. After today's game, and they are trailing 11-5. Disappointing start for Kyle Gibson today. Disappointing game for Paul Molitor. He's hoping to have the Twins finish with a 5-2 homestand, and then beyond that have a little more confidence in his starting pitcher today. And I don't think either one of those things are going to occur. Phil Hughes will come in to pitch in the 9th inning for the Twins. He'll face Mancini and Rickard and Joseph.
And let's hope that's all.
And let's hope that's all. His 4th relief outing since his return from Rochester. 2 have gone well, 1 haven't. And breaking ball over, strike 1. fastball. Swing and miss, strike 2. Half swing. Did he go? Nope. 1-2.
Phil Hughes has always had that sneaky fastball, and see why he was effective when it was at 94, 95, because to the hitter it looks like it's 3 miles an hour, at least 3 miles an hour faster. Sneaky delivery, pitches high in the zone with the fastball.
2-2.
And now when he's throwing 91, 92, it's still, he can still get away with it upstairs occasionally. There's just something about his delivery and his short arm throwing motion that fools hitters like that.
And a strikeout to start the afternoon for Phil Hughes.
You just don't see good hitters swing and miss a 92-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle like that very often. After watching Phil for many years, he has just gotten so many strikeouts up there, and guys swing at that like he's throwing, as I say, 3 or 4 miles an hour harder than he is. So you can see why when he was throwing 94, 95, why he was tough.
Ball 1. Dodgers have opened up a 4-0 lead over the Royals with Clayton Kershaw on the mound. That game in the 4th inning. And Detroit and Cleveland will play tonight at Progressive Field. High fly to left field. And Rosario calls off Polanco. 2 down. Zach Britton will get an inning, it looks like, in the bottom of the 9th. He's got a couple runs against him the other night.
Trying to work his way back into pitching shape after being injured. When he's healthy and when he's on, can be darn near unhittable.
Strike 1. And a ball, 1-1. And it looked like the hitter was late on the swing again.
Yep. I think it takes hitters a while. They need to see Phil Hughes for a few at bats, maybe more than just a few, before they catch up with that fastball sneakiness.
One and 2 from Hughes to Joseph. And now 2 and 2. Phil Hughes pitches a clean 1-2-3 ninth with a couple of strikeouts. Zach Granite will lead off the bottom of the 9th. Orioles trying to win the last 2 games of the series. Yesterday they broke a 5-game losing streak. And Zach Granite would like to go into the All-Star break with his first big league hit. He's got a tough assignment because Zach Britton is nasty against righties and lefties.
He is nasty. Giving up a lot of base hits, obviously, by the opponent batting average as he works his way back from injury. But as he gets there, he will get tougher and tougher and more and more normal statistics for him.
Granite 0 for 2 with a walk. Fastball, strike 1. Swing and a miss. 0-1-2.
You see that ball dive down below the swing of Zach Granite. That's what makes Britton so tough. He's throwing 95 and the ball moves all over the place. As I mentioned last time he pitched a couple of days ago, I don't think Zach knows where the ball is going, which way it's going to move.
Down and away.
Yeah, I was going to say 95 going the other direction.
Britton, like so many great relief pitchers, a failed starting pitcher. Chop to the right side. And Granite is out. A close play. Bill Welke waited a long time to make the call. Paul Molitor has a left foot out of the dugout. The Twins are taking a look at it right now.
Well, Granite can scoot down that line. As you can see, it's going to be very, very close. I think it just got him.
Yep.
But he made it awfully close.
Yep, he's out.
As I said, he can scoot.
So 1 down. And unless the Twins can pull off a improbable comeback here with 1 out in the 9th, Zach Granite's first major league start will end with an 0 for 3 day at the plate, a walk and a run scored, and 1 phenomenal catch in center field. 1 down. Here is Eduardo Escobar hitting for Brian Dozier. Strike 1. Chopped to third. Escobar stumbled out of the box. He's retired, out number 2. Here's the catch we referred to in center field with the Twins only down a run at the time.
Well, this is the most fun of the day for Twins fans, for us watching an otherwise really kind of miserable day. This was some kind of good catch. He took a great route to that ball, ran it down, able to make the grab before he hit the fence. Just a terrific play.
It was 5-4 at the time. Runners at first and second with 1 out. Kept the Twins in the game for the time being. Twins needed to score the next run, and instead, in the 5th, the Orioles scored the next 4. 1-0 to Grossman. Grossman, Tyler Duffy, Jason Castro will enjoy the All-Star break at home in Houston before the Twins open up the second half in Houston. Chopper, foul, 1-1. Twins open in Houston. They play 3, then they come home for 2 3-game series with the Yankees and then the Tigers. On the outside corner, 1-2. Two. If Grossman reaches, Kepler will hit. horseman rather stays alive, fouling it down the right field line.
You see those kinds of swings a lot against Britain. I just continue to marvel at how the fastball moves as much as it does. Gets a lot of ground balls because the ball sinks so much, and it's not sinker delivery and it's not sinker trajectory. It's just a fastball that very late, with very late movement.
And a check swing, strike 3 to end the game and the series and the homestand. Tom Hanneman, the Twins hope for winning homestand. They had that, but just a 4-3 homestand going into the break.
Dick, thanks. Twins hit baseball's all-star break following a series split with Baltimore. Coming up next on Twins Live, presented by CenturyLink. We'll talk about Adam Jones' day at the plate, a pair of home runs. Zach Granite, a terrific catch at his first major league start. Paul Molitor preview the all-star break.